What's up,
Oh,
Craig?
what's up, Craig?
I'm here with Mumbles. This is Ghost of Retardica. Mumbles, how are you today?
I'm mumbling to myself.
Let's
as usual.
yeah, I can barely understand.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. There's a
Oh,
little
okay.
echo, but it enhances your mumble. My idea today was a unified theory, hit it and quit it. Let's go in there raw, no rubber, and see what we come out with. Tying a thread through all of the disparate topics of interest.
Yes.
What's a good jump off point for us to start today?
Well, we were talking about water and the entire method of how rain is made, how water, basically rises up and then comes back down, and the moisture that's in the air is uh, generated in certain spots at certain times to drive certain weather patterns in certain directions to, have a forecast as far as, global markets are concerned, or, the cost of food and cost of commodities if, there's going to be a drought or a flood. And I think that's kind of where we were starting.
And contributing to that, the weather derivatives market, we're betting against predictions to generate economies. Um, that's been used in housing markets and so many other things. Uh, so unnatural water transportation seems to be of value. There's many different angles to look at that from. If you look at the natural system of water, it seems
Yes.
to be reversed from what we were educated to believe. If we're looking at the Earth as having a circulatory system, the water coming up through the soil, the mountains, the rock, the layers, and purifying the water, leaving the salt behind in the oceans. This seems to be fairly intuitive and logical.
Yeah.
And
It's definitely a living and breathing thing. That's for sure.
I like Creature Earth. I like this idea of Creature Earth because it
Yeah.
makes sense. Um, so we have that as a fundamental. This is a great place to start. Water. What could be more basic? They always program us to say that water is when they find water, that's where they find life. So we have above our heads, we've been taught outer space is a place that you can go to and fly around in rocket ships. Um,
Yeah.
once that fantasy is uh, laid bare and dissolved, things become a little bit more easy to string together. So the weather would tie into that. Let's say agencies such as NOAA, interesting, and NASA working on high altitude vehicles, tying into the ufology myth, alien myth, tying back into the history timeline of millions and billions of years and millions of billions of miles. This is to keep people in a bamboozled state, I would think, that separates them from what they're actually living on. So it seemed easy to create these economies based on transportation of water, modification of weather, the pushing of a green movement based
Mhm.
on guilt and overpopulation. How would that tie into the dinosaur myth?
Well, in quite a good many ways. I mean, uh, if our initiative is to be green and recycle everything and keep things from basically ending up in the landfill, we're basically damning our future generations to
Ah,
not be reliant on fossil fuels, and they'll have to basically adapt to not being able to dig up any any fuels from the ground. I think.
so by the time a child who's grown up with stories and movies about dancing dinosaurs uh, with likable personalities, also who went extinct due to environmental conditions, and tying that into an economy for distributing energy and vehicles. Every time you get into your car, you're guilty. Every time you take your garbage out, you're experiencing guilt. Guilt seems to be at the root of a lot of this. Uh,
Yeah, but
what
if you let it get to you, though, that's the
if
you
you
know.
let it get to you? But in the general, I'm speaking generally. People in general, if they don't personally feel guilty, they're definitely going to receive criticism from someone who doesn't put the right plastic bottle into the correct container and things like this. The social engineering that tends to keep people in line,
Right.
on both ends, either through the guilt, sort of the Catholic style
No, I
guilt.
think that people should definitely separate their trash as best they can to make sure that the people that are um, have the most to gain from reclaiming it has the least amount of labor cost involved.
That seems to tie into a very
Doing all the sorting for them.
the
Uh,
communal. You save a bundle on payday.
yeah, these big corporations don't have to pay anybody to sort the trash and get the materials back, into these states, of like plastics together, metals together, tin together,
Mm.
there's all sorts of different recycling.
Giving a hoot and don't pollute is what I
Yeah,
grew up with. Woodsy the owl. Go figure, an
yeah,
owl.
yeah. Ricky Recycle, we put
I
the
guess
can in the.
it's funny. I got Chuck E. Cheese. You got Showbiz. I got Woodsy the owl. You got Ricky Recycle, which sounds he sounds way more fantastic.
Yeah. Well, but I think that's ultimately what they're doing is basically selling you, the guilt trip story, to get you to, do basically manual labor that you probably normally wouldn't want to do.
Minimum wage. What's your
Yeah.
take on the plastics and things like this being derived from plants? That would seem to tie in to that would seem to alleviate a lot of the guilt if people were more aware of
Yeah. Well,
of,
it's
of
all,
that idea. What say you?
everything is plant based. I mean, what else do we have on Earth besides a giant root ball? And and everything's coming out of the soil.
Seems to
Everything's
be.
soil. So, I don't buy into the dinosaurs roaming the earth and decomposing and, turning into oil, but I can certainly see how it's just organic matter, which
Mm.
is plant material, which is just, dead trees or dead leaves, and
And it
over X amount
these
of time.
mm. and these things appear to degrade in the sunlight and seasonal changes. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely cellulose based, um, and that's not to say that oil isn't plant based as well.
Which the Sheol, we talked about the Sheol before, which I've not done much research into the Sheol, but I've studied the circulatory system, and the blood is where the all, I guess the nutrients and what you need to spread life through your body to the different. Well, if there's not cells in your body, I get hung up on these things. So the blood nurtures the body. There's another system in your body called the lymph system, which doesn't have a pump like the heart. It's a very slow moving, gooey system where a lot of so-called toxins will build up if it's not flowing out, if you're not drinking enough water. On scaling that up to the creature earth, the lymph system could perhaps be a buildup, not of toxins so much, but of more of a viscous material, slow-moving material, and this could perhaps be the Sheol.
Yeah, I suppose I get what you're saying. Yeah, as far as blood being cellular, and you know, I think that's cells are something that plants have. You know, that's what gives lettuce its crisp is the cellular walls. So I don't necessarily think that we're cellular. We might be crystalline.
Yeah, I get my imagination gets stuck there. I'm burned out on looking things up at this point. But
yeah, I mean the cells, like they make sense, you know, like they're little Cheerio, you know, life preservers that are just all like floating
containers.
around. Yeah, they're all just floating around these life rafts going up and down your veins, and I think that's just to propagate the bagel agenda.
And this has been Breaking Wind with Mumbles and Retardica. I think that was a pretty good summation. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I felt a little rocky on my end as usual. I just
smooth sailing on mine, baby.
hard for me to get a coherent thought in and put together. But especially with such a time crunch,
Well, it was a good attempt. 15 minutes, probably, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we're just about creeping up. Another 2 or 3 minutes will be 15. But yeah, it's really hard to weave all the threads of this story in.
Absolutely.
And trying to come up with a way of explaining it. It's like I just feel like a diamond that's like trying to be pulled apart at each of the facets, and each when you look into a diamond, every facet you kind of see like a reflection of the whole diamond. It's like a house of mirrors. It's a house of mirrors, and
such is the mind.
Yeah.
And
I think there's definitely something like we were talking about a fluid which acts basically as mirrors, and I think that's ultimately how we're communicating. If we put mirrors from my house all the way to your house, it would be like you're standing next to me. If we had like an accordion folding mirror that was long enough to go from point A to B, it would. Your mind wouldn't know if I was really standing next to you or not.